Hello, everybody. Shaquita Graham here from AtechoWeb.com. I'm here with the lovely Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses of SuccessfulBlackWoman.com. We have a really interesting topic about infidelity in marriage. We're going to be highlighting Meagan Good's husband, Devon Franklin. So let me share my screen and hear what he has to say. He was on Oprah's Soul Sunday, and this was posted at the Huffington Post.
This is on page 146. The man who recklessly gives himself over to his sex drive denies and distances himself from his divine nature. Preach, will you? He courts chaos, drama, legal troubles, illegitimate children, everything this side of the plagues that Moses warned Pharaoh about in Exodus. Worst of all, he becomes manipulative and callous, willing to do or say anything to get a woman in bed.
All right. So before everybody says, oh, what about the women and all that? I think that this advice applies to Black men, Black women, and all types of, all races. But we're, of course, focused on the Black family here. And I think that he made a good point of highlighting, just to recap what he said, that if you don't have sexual discipline and you give into sexual recklessness, you invite chaos into your life, legal troubles, and he named a lot of different things. So, Noma, what do you think?
Well, further in the article, which I'm sure you'll also bring up, he talks a lot about how a man or a woman can actually predict if the person that they're considering marrying has a propensity to cheat. And actually, more specifically, he was talking to women and saying, if you're assessing a man and deciding if you want to spend the rest of your life with him, there's some things that you can see about him before you marry him that will tell you how he will behave later on, and much later on, and so on, because you'll have a pattern. And I don't know if you want to bring that up now.
Sure. Yeah, I can share the article, or let me just share it real quick. He says, if I had no discipline in sex before marriage, I will have no discipline in sex after marriage. And we wonder why most marriages end and why infidelity is so high. Too often, he adds, people assume or hope that the words I do are some sort of magic spell. So he says, basically, he says, no, what you have practiced, what habits you have, they're still there.
Right.
To your point.
Yeah. So basically what he's saying is, if you don't have it together before you get married, you're basically not going to get it together just because you get married. And I think that that's a valid point to make. You can't expect that just because you say you're marrying somebody, or somebody says they're marrying you, they're going to shake some kind of magic wand and become a different person. And I think we talk a lot about this, or at least I've heard it spoken a lot about, is especially women. They have this idea that you can take a person into your life and then change them, and that's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, and this is something that terrifies people about marriage. They don't think that fidelity is possible. I didn't, as a young person, didn't even want to get married because I didn't think that fidelity was possible. And I think that, number one, we have to say that marriage has so many benefits and it's totally doable. It's important for the Black community, and it's important for Black men and Black women to think in terms of building solid families. And in order to have a healthy sexual worldview, we as parents have to nurture healthy sexual behaviors in our children. I actually have written curriculum about healthy sexual decisions and life choices, and it's been implemented in public schools. And how a child is exposed to sex determines a lot about how their sexual impulses will be formed into adulthood. I wanted to share a young woman that we talked about, Jackie Bruton, who actually goes out to schools and helps children and teens, basically. Let me just show her. Jackie Bruton. She's the CEO of Motivation in 3D. She goes to schools here a lot in Georgia, but I think all over the country. And some of the children or some of the teens that she's spoken into, she has a glimpse inside the world of teens. I just want to read a couple of these. It says, "Thank you, Miss Jackie, for visiting our class. Your lesson had quite the impact on me. I came from a family where the males are what you may call players. I, of course, inherited this trait and became very manipulative of girls. However, by listening to your presentation and the help of the girl I've fallen for, I decided to change my ways. I'm willing to wait for the girl I love rather than mess around with various girls. Overall, I thank you for your presentation." Somebody else says, "I really wanted to share that I might look like the type of guy who would be having sex, but in reality, I have a girlfriend and we've been dealing with each other for almost a year now. And guess what? You're going to love this. We've never had sex. She wants to, but I tell her no because I'm done having sex just to do it. I told her I want to find something real, and she respected that and is still here." So these are examples of, you know, children are being raised and educated about proper sexuality.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I've found is, you and I obviously don't do it because we homeschool our kids. I think sometimes parents fall into the trap of leaving important things for other people to do. In other words, they don't talk about sex with their kids because it's uncomfortable, but they have to learn about it somewhere and somehow. And unfortunately, if it's in school or from other kids, or God forbid, is from adults who are trying to take advantage of them and miseducating them on purpose so that it allows them to take advantage of them, no good can come from that. So I would say that one of the most important things that you can talk to your kids about, and of course, there's appropriate ways and appropriate things to share with kids at varying ages, but I think that's one of the most important things that you can share with your kids. Just a quick funny story. I was showing my daughter a picture earlier today on Facebook, and I was like, "This is Uncle so-and-so's son." And she says, "Oh, wow, Uncle so-and-so got married?" And I was like, "No, he didn't." And then she's like, "Well, how does he have a son?" And of course, this is because we've told her that, you know, our expectation is that, you know, you will go to school, you'll finish school, you'll establish yourself, you'll meet a person who has valid character, you'll make a decision collectively to spend your lives together, and after you've made that decision, you get married, and then you have kids, and you build a family, and so on. So for her, it was confusing. And I wasn't trying to get her to judge her uncle or the uncle that we were looking at. But again, it actually made me quite happy to see that some of the lessons that we've told our kids are sticking.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to note that Jackie Bruton also has a video that you can watch with your children. And the curriculum that I created was, and I did this for a nonprofit organization, it was like 16 weeks. I think it was like 20 hours or something of curriculum. So there is a lot to teach. But what is so problematic is that the media and a lot of educational content that our children are exposed to, and we even as adults are exposed to, promote sexual perversion and recklessness. So to create strong Black marriages, we have to focus on raising our children and encouraging them to engage in sexually healthy and responsible behavior. And the first thing they have to do is have respect for Black bodies. So we can't allow ourselves or our children to tune into mainstream portrayals of Black men or Black women engaged in gutter sex and perverse imagery, and we have to fight against these portrayals. That's something that, you know, we have to focus on, because if we allow our children to be exposed to pornography, if we're exposing ourselves to, I mean, as an adult, I'm not trying to tell you what to do in your bedroom, but if you're trying to control your sexual impulses and you're trying to have a healthy sex life, it starts with the way that you see Black bodies and the way that you see sex? You know, do you see it as a soul gratifying, intimate act, or are you seeing it as, you know, a way to get off? And all of the people who have such a problem with marriage, they never talk about the fact that they're going to continue having sex. So they're going to be subject to having children. They're subject to whatever you might fall into when you're not in monogamous relationships, as far as diseases and different things like that. And you're also not building that family structure that your child needs to have an example of for the future. So
right. Devon Franklin actually said some of the stuff. He said it creates chaos, it creates drama, it creates illegitimate kids. And he says that as a man, what it does is it makes you a person who's manipulative, because you don't go to a person and say, hey, look, I just want to use you. Can you let me use you? Because, well, I am assuming nobody would say yes to that. So you have to cultivate an ability in yourself as a man to manipulate, to make her believe that you care, to make her believe that there's something more to what your interest level is. But really, you're just trying to, as you said, get off. So there's a lot of things that are built into this. And the younger you are when you are exposed to sexual perversion, I believe the more perverted you become, because it's so distorted from such a young age, and it just gets worse. So it's important to have those conversations even when they are uncomfortable. And it's also just as important as it is for you to tell your kids, you know, get up, brush your teeth, take care of your teeth, take care of your body, take care of all this other stuff. There's also a sexual component that can't be avoided, and it has to be discussed, and it has to be discussed in such a way that we learn, or at least kids learn, to respect themselves and to respect other people in the context of sex and sexuality.
Yeah, and we have to, you know, I can't say for sure, but this whole Eurocentric mindset of sexuality seems definitely different than an Afrocentric mindset related to sexuality, because there is a psychology and a sociology connected to, and a spirituality connected to sexuality that I don't seem to see in Eurocentric representations of it. And that's something that we have to be careful of. In the Black community, as we begin to heal ourselves, we have to represent the holistic view of sexuality and not just see it as a physical expression of just these needs, these mundane needs, but see it as a spiritual experience and see it as a purposeful experience that relates to family building and intimacy.
Absolutely.
All right, so hey, there's a lot to say about this. We are building the platform, marriedwomensbusiness.com. Go there and register. See us at the Atlanta All Black National Convention coming up September 15th. We'll talk a lot about these types of subjects, and we'll be able to go into detail because there's a lot to teach your child. I mean, when you're talking about how to choose a mate, you're talking about all of these different things. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Noma, for having this conversation with me, and we'll see you guys on the next video.